This is a CBC podcast.
Danse, Anine, Boujou, hello and welcome. This is Unreserved on CBC Radio 1. I'm Rosanna Deerchild. His voice is like the low rumble of a thunderstorm on the prairie. His song's a glimpse into the heart of a man who's lived through the broken to come out whole on the other side. William Prince is an Anishinaabe singer and songwriter from Peguis First Nation in Manitoba. He's just released the much-anticipated follow-up to his Juno-winning debut album, Earthly Days. His trajectory has taken him from small stages to major concerts and tours all over Turtle Island and abroad, including opening for the legendary Neil Young and icon Buffy Sainte-Marie. His new album, Reliever, was recorded in Winnipeg and Nashville and is out now. I'm so pleased to welcome William Prince back to Unreserved for an extended conversation today. Hello, my friend.
Hello, Rosanna. How are you?
You look a little travel-weary. You good?
Oh, yeah. Is that the friendly way of saying how terrible I look today? I think it's just the hat. I lucked out and I found a hat that fits my head, and I wear it everywhere now. So that's the biggest change since I've seen you.
Not at all. You look fantastic.
No, thank you. Thank you.
So let's start with the new record. What inspired you most on this album?
Oh, boy. That starts the conversation years ago. You know, Reliever was born in stages. It was written at so many different times. It was written in real-time panic, I say, for some part of it. It was written halfway through reflection and then finally at the point of revelation. Wow. You know, there are so many different points throughout this album that I'm really proud of making it through and being here where we are today on the other side. And Reliever was really just about collecting and documenting the songs I was writing while I was going through, you know, one of the harder times in my life so far.
Mm-hmm. So you were going through some stuff, the loss of your father, the end of your relationship, finding your place as a father to your son Wyatt. What does the name Reliever mean to you?
Reliever really stems from the idea of the course of treatment, almost an antibiotic in a sense. You know, I think of the songs, what they've done for me over time, dealing with those things like grief and separation and total change and 180 of environment from this point of, is this working? Is this something I'm going to be able to do? Is there a place here for me? To now being at a place where I find myself doing this all the time. My responsibility has become to be a good dad and be good to my family and make art. And it's really an incredible thing. So that was the faith I was kind of holding on to. Borrowing from your future happiness is what I say. You know, having that faith for when the time would come now and we'd have this record and I'd be past the things I was working through and able to celebrate them rather than live in a state of grief. Reliever was born in the concept of love, too. I was thinking about how the greatest Major League Baseball pitchers in the world will throw a few innings until they're retired for the game and the relief pitcher takes over and says, I got this. And I thought, you know, on those days when we're with our significant others, those we care about, say we're not throwing the best game, and then that other person can kind of take over. So it was really born inside a baseball metaphor that grew in complexity. And I found the title track itself kind of in the middle of everything, and it really started to tie the two halves together, the part where I was living in real time, making a diary to my son, showing him and letting him know where I was during this time, his infancy, and then ultimately showing him that though I was going through this really difficult time, your dad stayed steadfast and resilient and made it through, and I hope that's the kind of man, human being he turns out to be in the end.
William, the beauty of your lyrics are that you are so vulnerable. You give so much of yourself in your music. Why do you share so much with people?
Why not? I think it's what we're most in need of today, is the willingness to be vulnerable and sincere. You know, more than ever, there's more to consume and more to get over faster than it's ever been. I think the things that still exist amongst the human condition are those themes of love and, making it through the everyday life and going through those challenges that we will encounter over the course of our individual lives. I came into the term sonder over the past few years, where you sit and imagine that the complexities of every other individual in the world has a whole history just as long, just as in detail, just as thorough, and just as grand as your own. And like that's a lot of hard drive space, a lot of files out there to pick through. And, there are a lot of them that are similar from person to person. And the ones that are easiest to deal with me are speaking about my family. And I have no problem, because this was my way of coping. This was my, chance to deal with these things face on, was to write about them in real time and do my future self a favor, that I knew that I've survived everything up until this moment, and I will continue to survive and thrive in the environment that I've created for myself now. And that's a huge privilege. That's really something. So I chose that while I'm here, while people are listening, I'm going to give the most honest and forefront representation of what I feel, what I'm living through, in hopes that it will, bring us past this more superficial, more artificial age and get us back in touch with vinyl records and phone calls and things like that, slowing the pace to appreciate just how beautiful the human condition actually is.
Mm-hmm. Now, earlier you had said that in creating this album, you had to borrow from your future happiness. What did you mean by that?
Well, that's really all that faith is, I think, is I was going through, like I said, the loss of my dad and estrangement, and not really feeling like I was in a place to ever really even have a relationship again. I thought I'd just be an artist and a great dad, and I would just travel, and in a low point. Truthfully, I don't want to understate just how tough things were. I went back to Peguis. I lived with my mom for a year. I worked on the Peguis radio to keep my mind from going crazy in the slower days, and drove to the city every day to see my son. And it was very opposite of glamorous, and it was quite testing. It's just like, what have you done? You derailed yourself from a post-secondary education to pursue this dream. And so borrowing from the future happiness was this idea that I would look to the future when the darkness breaks, knowing that I think there's going to be a time when I get to play music all the time and get to be a recording artist and share my story with, auditoriums or even town halls, even 50 people at a time. I knew that there was part of me that wouldn't let go of this dream that I was chasing, to be here and to do this for a living. So I with the good faith that it'll probably work out. I think it will work out. I believe enough that it will work out.
Yeah.
I'll just watch it unfold, so that now when you're here opening for the Neil Youngs of the world and traveling, and it's not normal to be applauded by thousands of people a week. Not everybody gets to have that. And it's really sending the message that my music belongs here. My voice is being heard. And that's everything you hope for as a songwriter. So I'm as happy as I imagined, if not more.
For certain. This album actually sounds fairly optimistic. You seem more rooted. You've gained some wisdom in the last few years. What do you attribute to that?
Confidence. Like the difference now. I was joking that when I made Earthly Days, it was like, I hope nobody minds that I'm doing this. Jade Bird says the last thing the world needs is another narcissist. And, so going from that to, I wonder if anyone will even hear these songs other than my family and myself. And I'll drive around with a CD in my car and finally feel like I did it. I got an album, and I was hoping to make it outside of Manitoba. And now it feels like, we're going to go everywhere by the time it's all said and done. And to have that in my heart, to know that there's a humble audience waiting for a follow-up, it gave me the peace of mind to go into the studio with Scott again and Dave, and be in Nashville and be in Winnipeg, bring these two pieces of the project together, and believe in my songs from the start, not waiting for them to be validated after. I trusted. I knew I'm aware of my abilities, and I record songs and I play shows. I was trying to prove that so hard for so long and show that I'm, just as valid a songwriter or artist as anybody else. And now that we're here, I can just focus on bringing about the best art I can create.
Absolutely. William, you recorded Reliever in Winnipeg and Nashville. Can you hear the influences of both of these places on the final product?
I think both pieces, they go together so well that you almost don't want to. You don't want to hear any difference, really. The song remains the same, wherever it's played. And with working in RCA, there's a magic to the room. You step into this gymnasium-sized Studio A, and you're working with a gentleman who's making all my favorite records in Americana music, Dave Cobb. And from that to learn that he's just a really passionate music lover, a person who loves the Beatles, who, loves Elton John. And from that, we work with this band together, learn the songs. For him to say that they don't really need anything was right out the gate the most validating point. Like, wow, and a really kind thing he said is sometimes you can be in a room with everything but a song. You can have it all there and trying to make something happen. So the work was done, and it made for a really fluid, easy process of capturing these songs in the most honest way. And then I said I needed to be breathing cold Manitoba air when I recorded some of this. So that's the importance of working with Scott Nolan at the Song Shop and keeping a part of Earthly Days alive within the next chapter. I am a creature of habit. I will make every record there. And I'm so lucky to work with selfless individuals who are there to serve the song. So if you're hearing any influence, it's of the talent around me and really versatile players in Manitoba. Julian Bradford, Kevin McLean, Christian Degas, Alexa Dirks, the incredible Begonia coming to sing on this record, Julie Penner, Eric Lemoine, and, being a part of this process to me, to working with, again, another whole cast in Nashville that were so aware and there to serve a great song. That's what I'm most proud of. I love listening to the band around me when I listen to these records. I'm so spoiled by that. And that's why I'm not afraid to say that. I make records that I love to listen to, and I gather the right people, and it shines through everybody's talent. It's a group effort. I bring a piece that we contribute to in the end.
You're listening to Unreserved on CBC Radio 1, Sirius XM 169 and Native Voice 1. I'm Rosanna Deerchild. Now, a recent feature was written about you and your album specifically in Rolling Stone magazine, cover of the Rolling Stone. So they put you in their country music session. What genre are you most comfortable
Well, it was cool because my first time there was through Rolling Stone Country, and then the proper feature is something pretty remarkable too. And I don't think there is a genre anymore. I'm a songwriter until as the day is long. I search for that. There's an antiquity I find within gospel music that'll always resonate with me in terms of structure, in terms of tradition. It's about, you can't fake your accent, I say. You grow up listening to these old staples, Hank Williams and Johnny
Junior
Cash
and Senior,
and all those things. My dad's old baseball music, playing in Poplarfield and playing in Petersfield, and all these as a young man listening to CCR. Who would have thought that his taste from there would shape and make a career for me today, long after he's departed, and still helping me with all the things he's instilled. And that's the beauty of Reliever too, is painting that picture of the most interesting thing is my own parenthood now. That's the interesting part, is being a dad and being like, wow, there's another part of my soul out there existing that you got to be the best for. I think of how no matter what I accomplish, no matter what show, no matter what award comes my way, if I never win another trophy or ribbon again, I'm so proud of what I've accomplished for him that he can look back on. I'm proud that it's not slowing down. This is not to say goodbye. This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Do you feel different now that the Rolling Stone has you? Do you feel different now that you play? No. Everything's the same. It's been the different buildings. It's been the same intention. And now it's even more serious because it's my son's life on the line as well as my own. Mm-hmm. So now is the time to strike. Now is the time to be strong and tour relentlessly and make a name for yourself so that maybe in a few years I can be the hockey dad that takes a whole season off and I don't have to tour right now. But I'm loving it. I love this life. I really, really do.
That's amazing. Now, speaking of gospel music and fathers, The Great Wide Open, tell me about that song.
It's kind of tough. I've tried to incorporate elements of my gospel traditional upbringing, but you can scare people away with that of all varieties. And it's just like, I am first and foremost a sinner and in no way perfect. I believe in spirit. I believe in the cosmos and the great universe and the energy that is neither created nor destroyed, and that we carry on in some form or another. So when you think of songs like Old Souls on the record, we are repeating patterns of the people before us, and our energy this go around determines our energy in the next cycle, whatever that may be. Mm-hmm. And so I think of my dad, if he gets to exist now in a place of peace, out of his mortal coil, away from his sick human body, and he's floating, bumping around the Milky Way or whatever grand, vast openness there is there, I hope he's not staring into a little TV wondering if his family's still okay at Costco or, are you all right getting gas or all these things. It's like, I'm letting go of that. I love my dad. He means and meant the world to me. I think I've stated that over the course of 2 records. I'm ready to depart from it. It doesn't make him any less meaningful to me. Mm. His influence, his life, his teachings will always be a part of who I am. And so the final track says goodbye to him in a way, saying, I hope your spirit continues on and that you're not looking back worried about me, peeking through clouds and seeing as my son, okay, I am. There's an energy going around that he would be so happy to meet his grandson, to see his grandson. I think, again, I give it all so much credit to Scott Nolan. He said, I think your dad's in a better place to help you now than he's ever been. Mm-hmm. Rather than me feeling guilt that I shouldn't be too far from him or gone for too long because he could go at any time. Not being held back by that. He would never want that for me. He'd want me to go forward, fiercely, bravely, with all the confidence in the world and all the hope for good things to come. So, yeah, the great wide open, the vastness. Let's not let our memories of those we love keep them contained here on earth when I think there's just so much more to explore in the heavens, whatever that is to you, whatever the carbons strung together, whatever the atmosphere looks like in your eye, your belief system. Know that I'm there with you, and the fact that I'm just thankful I have someone or something, a creator, a universe, a cosmos, an energy to pray out loud and give gratitude, because honestly, it's the only thing I can think of for why I'm here. The more gratitude you give, you harvest within the garden of your life a better outcome, a healthier crop, and that's what I'm striving for now, is the utmost gratitude so that I can continue to go on this path.
Now, in that song, as you said, you're saying farewell to your father who passed shortly before your debut record was released. And that relationship was very important for you. You had a strong influence in your life and shaped who you have become. How has letting him go shape you as a father and as a musician going forward?
I think it just clears up space for me. When I think of the song Leave It by the Sea on the record, it's about letting go of things and making room for the more present things. There are more interesting avenues than your father passed, than it didn't work out with your partner at that time. Let's reflect seriously now on the idea of joy. Let's look at the future now that it's here, vibrating, humming on idle right in front of you, and just at whatever pace it happens. Nothing before I'm ready, I say, so allowing myself to let go of that not every show I play has to be a memorial service for, my dad, the singer from Peguis. It can be more about what I'm feeling in my own life, I pay tribute to him all the time. I think of him. This very thing I do is because of him. So anybody that knows me enough or takes any interest, doesn't take long till you find that thing. That, oh yeah, this guy had a relationship with his dad that was quite special. And it's just because I'm so immersed in the things that he loved. He loved being a good dad. He loved picking up the check. He loved playing guitars and being, a grandpa and being sweet to my mom and spending their time together, riding and driving around. I'm thankful for this talent that I have and that I can go out and live a life that I feel fulfilled by each and every day. And that comes from him. It really does. It comes from the humility of my mom as well. They are, two halves of a really great coin that was flipped in my favor long before I was here. And I'm thankful for both of them. So, allowing myself to let go of him has only freed up more room to be a loving dad now, here in the present.
Yes, and speaking of which, in the song That's All I'll Ever Become, you are in the role of father, and it's clearly very important to you. How has that affected your writing and your music and where you are and who you are right now?
Like I said, all the accolades, all the things will never really amount to his happiness, his place in this world. He's a real interesting portal to innocence, to allowing yourself, again, another form of vulnerability, to be silly and let your guard down. You don't have to be the quiet all black in the shadows of things, contemplating in your mind. It's okay. We can use silly voices. They say our voice goes up in pitch when we speak of or speak to someone we love, and that's who I am. There's a tenderness that comes with being a dad that's I want to teach. If we're ever going to, tackle the thing of toxic masculinity and those different things that exist that are coming to light now and behaviors of certain people, it begins with our children and stuff. And so I've made mistakes in my life. I've spoken to people in ways I regret, behaved, and I'm trying to figure out ways to paint little pictures for him, I guess, lessons in my music, so that if one day he likes his dad's music, it'll be there to discover. So he's always on my mind. I think of him no matter the size of the crowd. It's funny, I can think of the silly games we play or things he says that make me laugh. He always makes me laugh. And I could be in the middle of a song, get distracted in a memory and almost forget a lyric because of him. So it's like watching the greatest TV show unfold season after season. What's going to happen to this character now? He is so smart and intelligent. He's so funny. Again, showing those things, great manners, an empath, sincere and thoughtful. And the truth is, he's inspiring me to be better.
You're listening to Unreserved on CBC Radio 1, Sirius XM 169, and Native Voice 1. I'm Rosanna Deerchild. William Prince is my guest on the show today. So you're based in Winnipeg, and you travel a lot playing and recording. You mentioned earlier that you had picked up some work at the old Peguis radio station. Do you get back home often?
I do as much as I can. At any given time, I will take the almost... I guess an hour and 45-minute drive. It's one of the easier drives that I can make. It goes by in such a flash. I've done it 1,000 times, but I love getting out there to see my nieces, see my sister, and visit my mom, just touch base. And it's kind of like putting your feet on the original ground in a sense, to always go back there and I guess breathe in the air in a sense and see the house and be with my family. It's very grounding, especially when you're place to place, up and down on the plains and different hotels, and nothing's really the same for more than 24 hours. And so to go there where things don't really change, I used to go crazy because of that, but now I appreciate it more than ever, seeing the pace of the reserve and being able to go there and and eat good food and be around those you love. And again, it just allows you, like being with Wyatt, to let my guard down, to let innocence kind of take over again.
Are you treated differently when you go home by people there with the level of your success?
Just different in the sense of excitement. It's one of those places where, you know, you could see somebody your whole life but never really know. And so it encourages me to ask people's name. Oh, what family are you from? I always wanted that, to belong more to the reserve. It's a tough crowd to win over. And I think just now, after
they
all
humble you, bro. They humble you.
They've humbled me for years. I like that I'm not treated any different there, you know.
I still get sent to the northern store when I get home.
I love it. I love seeing people. I love hearing that, hey, man, you're inspiring me. I went to high school with you. Your success almost feels like my success. It feels like we inch forward together, and it really is the best thing you can do. And to be a part of the lifestyle of the youth out there, to be mentioned by the chief and council and all them who share my posts on Instagram or Facebook, and people gather and like it and like, wow, they're proud of you. And so for all the humbling I've taken from that place, it's lovely to go back and go shopping with my mom, go to the grocery store for a sec, and hey, I saw you on TV or heard your song here, and that feels like a really great win for everybody in that community that I care about. So I love that it's opening a door for people to be more open with their feelings, with getting to know me. Hey, I've seen you my whole life, but letting you know who I am now. And that's the kinship. That's the beauty of our people that we used to have when we lived in villages and a campsite in an area. You know, we had community, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I hope I make the people from Peguis proud. And I'm always happy to talk about that place.
Thank you so much, William. It's always a pleasure to have you in the studio.
Thank you, Rosanna. That was wonderful. Thank you to everybody for listening, and thanks to the CBC for always having me.
William Prince is an Anishinaabe from Peguis First Nation. His new album, Reliever, is out now. This episode was produced by Stephanie Cram, Kyle Musica, Zoe Tennant, and Anna Lazowski. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at unreserved@cbc.ca or find us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm your favorite cousin, Rosanna Deerchild, coming at you from Winnipeg in Treaty 1 territory. Thank you for listening to Unreserved on CBC Radio 1. Agosay.
For more CBC podcasts, go to cbc.ca/podcasts.